Hello everyone and welcome to a bit of an impromptu video today. I saw today that the original script for Power of the Doctor was released online. The BBC archives regularly release the script for Doctor Who online, and interestingly, we've gotten a glimpse at what the ending of Power of the Doctor would have looked like before, obviously, the Tennant scene was added in. As we know, Chris Chibnall wasn't sure whether the show was going to continue beyond Power of the Doctor, and this looks to be the original ending, so no David Tennant, no anything like that. But before we get into it, if you could do me a teeny tiny little favour and click that subscribe button, I'd be very much appreciative of that. We're about 20 subscribers away from 16,800, and we're trying to get to 17,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so any support on that front would be greatly appreciated. Also, go follow me on Twitter if you are new, as I post regular updates over there. But with that said, let's get into the video. So yeah, as I said, the script for Power of the Doctor has been released online, and of course I'm not going to read it all, but I want to read this final scene because it gives us a glimpse as to how this episode would have ended had it not been for David Tennant and Russell T Davies coming back in for the 60th anniversary. Exterior landscape day. Reveal. The Doctor walks out of the TARDIS on top of Durdle Door. The ocean ahead of her. The sun is starting to rise. Close on the Doctor. She looks out to sea. Breathes in. The Doctor. The Velocimeus blossom. She sits cross-legged. Right then, whoever I'm about to be. Tag. You're it. Face wrinkles as she realises something. Ah, that's the only sad thing. Beat. I want to know what happens next. Beams. I bet it's going to be brilliant. And she bursts triumphantly into orange flame, swallowing up her face as she looks to the skies, surrendering to it, letting it in. Now her whole body on regenerative fire, wide, a single body sat cross-legged, in front of the TARDIS, on top of Durdle Door, consumed by regeneration energy. So yeah, there's a couple of notable differences with this original ending for Power of the Doctor. Most notably, there's nothing at the end. It pans out away from the Doctor with no one at the end. So that's probably how it would have ended had Russell not decided to take it over. Also, beyond that, we've got a couple of interesting alterations within the script. Rather than the traditional regeneration where they sort of have their arms out like that, the Doctor would seem to be sat cross-legged in this version of events, which is quite interesting. And personally, something I'd like to see, as I do quite like the whole sort of pose, but equally I think a new pose would be an interesting thing. You know, them sat down would be an interesting kind of novelty. There's also some minor changes to the dialogue as well. Obviously, the Tag You're It line in the final release was the final lines of the 13th Doctor. But in this one, the that's the only sad thing bit was swapped around so it was later on rather than before the Tag You're It line. And we also have an additional line of I bet it's going to be brilliant, a callback to the 13th Doctor's first line in Twice Upon a Time, when she says, oh brilliant, upon realising that she's regenerated. So yeah, overall, I just felt this was kind of an interesting little novelty, the idea of how the show could have gone if there wasn't a plan for what was next. Maybe this would cut to black and there wouldn't be a definitive, sort of next point for the show. Obviously, while I do think that this has some interesting ideas, I'd have liked to have seen the Doctor sat down for regeneration, as that is a new idea. Personally, I am glad we got what we got and there is actually, a future for the show going forward. And I also think, personally, for me, I prefer the Tag You're It line as opposed to I bet it's going to be brilliant. I bet it's going to be brilliant, as I mentioned earlier, is a reference to her first lines in Twice Upon a Time. But to me, I think there's something a bit more subtle about Tag You're It, and I think it fits her character quite well. It's quite youthful, quite playful, quite energetic. I mean, it's going to be brilliant is as well, but I don't know, I think Tag You're It is just a bit more subtle, personally. And I think the organisation of the lines is generally better in the version that we got. And you can also see here, this is definitely where it would have ended originally. We begin to pull away out to sea, the regenerating figure against the rising sun as we move out further and further as a new day dawns, to be continued. So that's where it would have ended, just probably a fade to black, and that would have been where the show would have ended. So yeah, at least for the time being, that's kind of wild to think that that's very much a universe we could have been in. Obviously, you could say that, in every regeneration story, a new scene is penciled in. Obviously, I know that Chris Chibnall was sent the script Twice Upon a Time, in which he wrote down his little bit for Jodie, but obviously, we're very much aware that Chris Chibnall has said he wasn't sure what the plans were for the future of the show as he was writing this script. So there's a very real possibility that this could have been the reality we were in. So yeah, I'm glad that's not the case. But let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Do you actually prefer this exit with the crossed legs and the different lines to what we got in the final version. Are you glad that Tennant appeared at the end, as I am? Or do you think a Fade to Black would be more appropriate, I guess? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Also, something very brief I just want to shout out before I go is the John Smith VFX showreel for the last 5 years or so. He's been doing a lot of the visual effects for the Chibnall era, as well as some of the final effects for the Moffat era as well, and he actually did the VFX for the sequence, and his work is honestly just incredible, and this breakdown is really, really interesting and unique, and there's so many points in this where I was like, wait, that was VFX? That wasn't real? Like, his work is absolutely phenomenal, so I'd highly suggest going down and giving John Smith a look on YouTube. Just go and look up his VFX showreel. His regeneration in particular is absolutely phenomenal, and I felt that since we were talking about the original final scene, I felt that it was interesting to note his contributions to it, because I think it looks absolutely fantastic. But yeah, like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.